Hello everybody and welcome to English Grammar with Ameya sir, and it's time for us now to deal with a chapter from the 12th standard. We are talking about the HSC English Yuvakbharati, and we are going to deal with the unit 1.8 Voyaging Towards Excellence, written by Achyut Godbole. Now, before we find out more about the writer, know more about him, let's deal with the title here, Voyaging Towards Excellence. Guys, I'm sure you've heard of the word voyage. Well, if not, well, the simple meaning is a long journey and often by sea. Here, voyage is, you can say, a journey from being nobody to somebody, something like that. What is truly motivating about this chapter is that Achyut Godbole will share his own experiences of where he was found lagging and how by hard work he overcame the problems or obstacles. So let's find out more about the author. Okay, the author, Achyut Godbole, born 1950, so you can clearly identify his age now. It's 2020s and recording it is August 2020. Is well known for his writings in Marathi and English. He is a prolific writer. Guys, prolific means at a very high rate. In various genres, by genres I mean category, you have films also in various genres, not? It's comedy, there is romance, there is action, there is horror, yeah. So genres, and has produced numerous original works as well as adaptations of works from other languages into Marathi. So he writes in English and in Marathi. His writing style is informative and yet very informal. He became a chemical engineer from IIT Mumbai. You see the logo of IIT that I have shown here. And that is in 1972, and headed top management positions in companies of great repute, of great reputation. This autobiographical sketch, penned by, that means written by Achyut Godbole, depicts, that means it shows his journey from a middle-class schoolboy to a famous writer. He was a successful general manager of Patni Computer Systems. Guys, this is Patni, okay? This is not Patni. It's not the Hindi counterpart for wife. Okay, it's Patni Computer Systems. Patni is also okay, but it's the t sound. Okay, Patni or Patni Computer Systems. He headed many other reputed companies and later became a famous writer. The present write-up discusses his quest for excellence. That means his struggle, his journey to achieve excellence. How he developed a thirst for knowledge. It's very important that you have this, guys. A thirst for knowledge. And it should be a never-ending thirst for knowledge, mind you. Be a student all your life. I'm sure you've heard of this line. You should remain a student all your life. Always try to learn new things. He discusses at length the ingredients, that's the essentials of success and the ways to achieve it. In this particular lesson, guys, I would like to add that he is going to focus on how he improved his communication skills. He comes from a vernacular medium, and in fact, in the lesson, if I'm not wrong, he does mention that he developed an inferiority complex, but he did not give up. And that's why such lessons are always my favorite. They offer you a great learning experience. And now you've read so much about him, but you must know that at the very start, he also was just a student, nobody else. So if, then these personalities, they work, they struggle, they come up in life, it really should inspire. They have the power to inspire you and me, is it not? So please understand why this chapter is so important. So that's why I've straight away started with unit 1.8. I love such chapters. Let's get started. I'm going to read it. By the way, in all the slides today, we will do one thing. I will read the entire paragraph and then look at the explanation. So you can try to read it with me and try to find out whether you can read it fluently or not. Voyaging Towards Excellence. Let's get started. I had a very simple upbringing. We were a lower middle class family. Our 300 square feet house did not even have basic amenities such as a fan, a refrigerator, a geyser, a dining table, or a gas stove, leave alone an air conditioner or a car. It was only when I entered the college that I got a watch and we got a dining table and a gas stove at home. So let me now explain this. I had a very simple upbringing. Guys, upbringing, we'll deal with amenities later. Upbringing is how you are raised in a family. That is your upbringing. The Hindi word for that is parvarish. Okay. So, palan poshan. I had a very simple upbringing, the way you are raised. So they were not, he was not born with a silver spoon in his mouth. That means they were not rich, humble background. We were a lower middle class family, and you can see that the house was 300 square feet house, and they did not have the basic amenities, which means useful or desirable features in a building or a flat. I'm sure you have seen advertisements, 1 BHK, 2 BHK, and new construction at the construction sites. They put up boards with amenities. I'm sure you've heard of this word. And believe me, I mean, even I was surprised. I have to admit this, I was surprised. Look at what Achyut Godbole is sharing with us, that they did not have a fan. They did not have a refrigerator, a simple geyser for hot water, for bathing, and a dining table, not even a gas stove. So you can imagine they were really from the lower middle class family and struggling, okay, barely able to make ends meet. And that's why he says that if we did not have the refrigerator and a fan and a gas stove, leave alone. That means don't even ask about an air conditioner or a car. That was, beyond something that they could afford. It was only when he entered the college that he got a watch. Otherwise, he did not even have a watch. And then the dining table and the gas stove subsequently. So you can understand that it's a life full of struggle. There's a grammar entry here. I had a very simple upbringing. We are required to make it exclamatory. I've always said this. Look at the article here. Simple is the adjective, and definitely you have the article before that. So we start with what. I had a very simple upbringing. What a simple upbringing I had. The first two words often become the last two words, and the sentence terminates with an exclamatory mark. Well, that's something that students should always be mindful about. What happens is that they construct the answer so correctly, but it hurts. You know what? When I correct papers and see students going wrong, what they do is they have the correct answer, but they end it with a full stop. So you are required to make it exclamatory. It should end with an exclamation mark or an exclamatory mark. That's it. You can pause the video. Allow me to go to the next one. As usual, I'm going to read the entire paragraph. Try to read it with me in your mind. You should enjoy doing this, okay? And then we will look at the explanation. Let's start. Nevertheless, culturally, I had a rich childhood. Poets like Vinda Karandikar, Mangesh Padadakar, and Vasant Bapat used to visit our home, and for hours I could listen to the discussions about poetry and literature, Marathi and English. They used to talk about Keshav Sut, Mardekar, Shakespeare, Charles Dickens, and Thomas Hardy. I did not fully understand their discussions in depth, but I was immensely impressed. We also were lucky to have Pandit Kumar Gandharva, Pandit Bhimsen Joshi, and Pandit Jasraj visit our place and talk about Indian music till late night or sometimes dawn. Guys, before I even begin the explanation, you should understand that he is absolutely right in saying that he had a rich childhood culturally. I mean, he is saying that poets like Vinda Karandikar, Mangesh Padgaonkar, Vasant Bapat used to visit their home. Now, this is definitely some luxury. This is royal. If such great people visit your house, that is incredible. That is you can call some serious wealth. Okay, so now let us deal with it. Nevertheless, culturally I had a rich childhood. He talks about Pandit Kumar Gandharva. He talks about Pandit Bhimsen Joshi. He talks about Pandit Jasraj. So these are the musical gurus and ustads. The PT here is not for physical training. PT is the short form for Pandit. And these are the people who used to visit Achyut Godbole's house. That is real property. I'm telling you, that is big. That is huge. If such great people visit your house and then there are discussions till late night or even sometimes till dawn, well, that's amazing. What else can we learn here? I did not fully understand. Okay, this is something nice. Achyut Godbole is telling us that he never understood fully what they're talking. But then, yes, it was important that he registered their presence. As a child, he did not understand fully what they used to say or their thoughts, but he used to understand that these are people of some merit, of some class. And that is definitely what I call a rich childhood, is no doubt about that. Let's continue. This is how and why I developed my interest in literature and music during my school days. I did not, and even today, don't understand the grammar of music, but I began to love it tremendously since then. Guys, let's deal with it. Now, this is how and why I developed. I want you to understand how this word is pronounced. It is pronounced developed rather than say developed. It's not developed, it's developed. Developed. And he here talks about grammar. Now, normally when you talk of language, grammar is the code or the set of rules governing how the sentences are to be constructed. But here he's talking about grammar of music, which means the basic elements of a particular skill, in this case, music. So even today he says that he is no expert in music, but thanks to all these eminent people visiting his house, he's telling us, he's sharing with us that he started liking music a lot. But I began to love it tremendously is hugely. Okay? He had huge love for music there. Next one. This is quite a big one. Try to be with me. Let's start reading it. You can try reading it with me. Most of the times, the topics of discussion at our home were about music, literature, paintings, sculptures, etc. I could listen to the discussions about Van Gogh, Mozart, Michelangelo, etc. It was because of such Ameya around me that I had a firm belief, which I still hold, that all arts are equally, if not more, important in our lives than science or technology. I had learned from my childhood that money does not mean everything in life. It is necessary, but if at all there is something which enriches our lives and puts meaning to our existence, it is the arts, music, and literature. Guys, this is a very important paragraph. There are so many things to discuss. Number one, I'm going to discuss this word melia with you. It is not milieu. Do not pronounce it the way you see the spelling here. It is not milieu or something. It's melia. I repeat that. Melia, which means a person's social environment, the people around you, your friends, your group, the people you admire, okay, your acquaintances. Melia, that's a person's social environment, the place you stay, everything. One more thing is, these great people, will look at them as well. Van Gogh, then you have the musician Mozart, and Michelangelo, the sculptor. And really, he at a very early age had discussions about them. Mind you, these are not the people visiting his house, but these are the people they were talked about in his house. So definitely he had a very good childhood in this sense. Money wise, yes, humble background, but otherwise he had a rich childhood. Another thing that I like here, that you must, what can you say, you must focus on, is the fact that he says that money is not everything. Okay, he says that money does not mean everything in life, and this is such a big thing to remember. He says that if it is if anything really enriches our lives, that is arts, that is music, and that is literature. As a teacher and a keyboard player who plays synthesizer just as a hobby, I'm interested in the last two, the music and literature part. So I'm happy that an eminent personality accepts this, that yes, science and technology is important, but he says, and mind you, he had a successful career in software. So there is no way that he is some kind of a person who does not understand science and technology. Well, he is. He belongs to software field. So for him to admit and say that science and technology is important, sure. But if there is something that enriches our lives, it's nothing but arts, music, and literature. That's a big thing. That's a very, very important thing. So do not always be under the impression that it's always maths, science, and then finally you have music, art, sports. No, arts, music, and literature, so important in your life. He says that they enrich our lives. Now, enrich is something, I suppose now we should go to the word pad for the very first time. Enriches. The verb form of rich is enrich, and that's why I made a note. We should go to the notepad for this. So let me take you there. For the first time today, we will go to our notepad. And the reason why we are there is to discuss the verb forms. Okay. En, adding en at the start does provide us with verb forms. For example, you saw here, rich becomes enrich. But is that the only example? Not at all. What do we have here? One more example I can give you is large. It's an adjective, large. How do you make the verb form? You enlarge. Is it not? Another example would be courage. Again, it is courage is noun form, is it not? You have courage. How do you make a verb form? You add en and make it encourage. So it's something that is a circle. Okay, you encircle. Put a circle around it, is it not? Encircle. What do we do here? Here, when I explain, I do encircle things, is it not? If it's a vocabulary entry. By the way, talking of en, this is en added at the start, so this means that this is a prefix. Beg your pardon. This is a prefix, but mind you, you can also have en at the end, which would mean that it will be a suffix and still get the verb forms. For example, short. If you cut it short, you say shorten. Deep, then you can say deepen. Okay. Strength, you can say strengthen, is it not? So very important, these things. When you have en at the start, it's the prefix, and you definitely get the verb forms like enrich, enlarge, encourage, encircle. There are more. And you can add en at the end, then they are called the suffixes. For example, shorten, deepen, strengthen, and others. You can pause the video if you want to make a note of these things. We discussed the verb forms. Let's go back now to our PPT. Are there any other entries here? No, no other entry. Guys, now this one is quite sizable. Let's do it slowly. I'm going to read from the start to the end, and please try to do it with me. Be honest, and in the comments you can let me know if you are successful in reading it with me or not. This is not to say that I did not like science or mathematics. In fact, I loved these subjects. However, I did not study them only for scoring maximum marks in the examinations. I used to study these subjects, or any subject for that matter, for its inherent beauty. I found Newton's law of motion beautiful and Pythagorean theorem elegant. I loved solving problems of physics and mathematics of the 9th standard when I was in the 7th. Not to show off, but just because I used to get involved in solving them. I used to love problem solving and used to enjoy finding out the most elegant method of solving them. Obviously, these problems were not a part of the curriculum, but I enjoyed the whole process. This attitude of looking beyond marks or examinations and to seek joy in solving any challenging problem helped me to develop a problem-solving attitude, which came handy when I appeared for my IIT entrance G, because this exam is completely based on your problem-solving ability and the ability to think not only logically but quickly and rapidly. Guys, I have no doubt that you must have observed that there was not a single error. So I'm sure that you also were able to read it. If not, this is a serious homework. Go ahead and listen to my reading over and over again, right from the start to the end, and there was no mistake. And hopefully you will also enjoy doing this. To be able to read fluently is a very important asset, very important quality. Now let's deal with it from the explanation point of view. Mind you, I am just reading what Achyut Godbole has actually written. So you can imagine that he has really worked on his English as well. I told you that in this lesson we are going to find out how he managed to improve his English. So as an English teacher, I'm really proud of what he has done. This is just brilliant. He did develop some inferiority complex, but boy has he worked hard, and really this is English of some class. It's brilliant, deserves credit for this, and you should definitely derive some motivation out of this. So now, the thing to study here, guys, is that he always enjoyed studying, and he never studied just to score marks. It's very important quality that you should also develop. Enjoy your subject. It's not just for scoring marks that you should study. You should study to get the holistic view. You should understand things, the fundamentals, and enjoy doing them. So he used to enjoy the problem solving, and often he used to solve the problems of higher standards. Like, for example, in this case, he says that he used to solve the 9th standard problems when in fact he was just in the 7th. And that was not to show off, not to present any ostentation, but because he loved doing that. And very importantly, he says that sometimes they were not a part of his curriculum. By curriculum, you mean syllabus, okay? Curriculum is syllabus. And he still did that. By the way, he's saying that this problem-solving attitude that he developed helped him in his IIT entrance, that is the G exam, the entrance. And this exam has questions that will test your problem-solving ability. So he says that this habit of the childhood helped him there to crack this particular entrance exam. Inherent means existing as a permanent quality in something. So inherent beauty of the subject. Elegant means graceful and stylish. He found the theorem very graceful. Curriculum, I told you, by the way, that's not the thing here. Curriculum is not elegant. It's being cut, copy, pasted here. Curriculum is syllabus. I'm glad I did tell you about this already. That's it. There are no more entries. By the way, you can go ahead and find the full form of J-E-E. Let's continue. As usual, I will read from the start to the end. Make sure that you give me your 100% undivided attention. Not just that, you can try to read it with me. Let's get started. I scored 100% marks in mathematics in almost all the examinations that I appeared for from my first standard until IIT, barring only a few times. I stood 16th in the SSC board. At that time, this examination was for the whole of Maharashtra, including Nagpur. And I stood first in the university in all subjects put together. Those days, you could get an admission into IIT without the entrance test, that's G, if you had secured the first rank in the university. Therefore, I did not have to appear for the entrance test to get the admission into IIT, but nobody in Solapur told me about it, for I doubt if anybody in Solapur even knew about this rule. Therefore, I appeared for the entrance examination and I secured a very good rank in the same. Again, I'm sure you enjoyed reading this. Let's look at the explanation part. Okay, so Achyut Godbole was very good in mathematics, and he says that I have always scored 100% marks in every examination. That's incredible. And he is saying that he stood 16th. At that time, he used to have something called as a merit list. The SSC board, so this is something that is very impressive, really impressive. Overall track record, academics, just brilliant. And more importantly, he never studied only for marks. Although he got full marks, the main thing, the motive was never just to score marks, just to learn something fundamental. Now here there's something interesting. He stood first in the university, which means that he could have gotten the admission into the IIT even without the entrance test. But here Achyut Godbole is telling us that nobody in Solapur even knew this rule. So nobody told him that, and that's why he thought that it was mandatory to appear for the IIT, and so he did. But the fact of the matter is that he did not even have to appear for it. He had, secured the first position in the university. So he had anyway, become eligible to enter the IIT. But nobody in Solapur told him that. Look at the English there. Isn't it just fantastic, guys? It is absolutely brilliant. Who would believe that this man who is writing this chapter using such elegant and classy English was, at some stage in his life struggling with English? Who would believe that? And that is why such lessons are very, very inspiring. I can tell you this language is really top quality. There is an entry. Barring means exception. So there were only a few exceptions, he's saying, barring only a few times. That's it. Let's now go to the penultimate slide. Should we make this the penultimate? We'll take a final call on the next slide, whether we want to stop at the next slide or maybe do a couple of slides more. Let me read it. As usual, today's lecture has been some kind of a reading assignment for all of you. Let's get started. I was quite happy getting into IIT, but my joy was short-lived. At Solapur, I had not seen any building which was more than 3-storied. Mumbai, however, was full of skyscrapers. At IIT, most of the students and professors used to converse in English, whereas my English was very poor. I had my entire education in Marathi. My spoken English was quite pathetic. That's a strong word he has used, guys. Not only did I have a very weak vocabulary, but my pronunciation also was terrible and my construction of English sentences very awkward, to say the least. Due to all this, I was feeling quite lonely and terrified in Mumbai in general and IIT in particular. I had developed an inferiority complex and wanted to run away from IIT and even Mumbai. Guys, I did mention about this situation at the introduction part or somewhere at the start of the lesson. He did develop inferiority complex, but that later. First, what you should see is for the first time he came to Mumbai from a small town or city, let's say Solapur, and there he says that I had never seen any building that was more than 3-storied. By storied, it means floors. Remember, you in colloquially you say first floor, second floor, third floor, so 3-storied. Okay, and in Mumbai you had skyscrapers. Then majority of the students and professors at the IIT used to communicate in English, and then he's saying that his English was very poor. Remember this. Mr. Achyut Godbole is saying that his English was very poor. The same guy is telling you that his English was very poor who has written this lesson for the 12th standard now. That's life, huh? That's some journey, is it not? That is some voyage towards success, is it not? That's why the title is so apt. APT. That's why the title is so apt. And let alone Achyut Godbole, even I would like to share my story. Until 4th standard, I was not good at my English, if you believe this. I remember I used to make a lot of grammatical errors, especially with the past tense. I was the one to write the past tense of put as putted, cut as cutted. And I remember my English teacher used to be furious at those mistakes. And there used to be something called as an essay notebook. And after correction, she used to just throw that essay notebook at me and used to come flying like some Sudarshan Chakra of Lord Sri Krishna on my desk or my bench, on my bench. And you know, in the 4th standard, I decided that something has to be done about this. Yes, and then rest is history, as they said. But that's why such stories are inspiring. Often students think that, hey, Ameya sir is speaking good English, must never have been any issues. Well, no, that's not quite the thing. There is never any smooth ride, as they say. So here Achyut Godbole is sharing his problem and then how he came up and he overcame that obstacle. And even I have shared my own experience. And believe me, I'm not just saying this for the sake of you know, flattering you or just to cheer you up. It's a fact. I was not good at English until my 4th standard. Believe me. Of all the people who were surprised when I became an English teacher was my English teacher who threw that essay book at me. She was the one to be surprised the most. Like some eyebrows were raised, like, you have become an English teacher, dude, now? And I was like, yes, ma'am, I am an English teacher now. Believe me, when she watches my lectures, she really feels happy for the improvement that has been brought about. Nonetheless, this is just to inspire you. So there is always a situation where life becomes challenging. You have a situation. Look at what he's saying. Look at this last part. He wanted to run away from IIT and even Mumbai because everybody was talking in English. The subjects were taught in English. The professors were using English, and so he was not good at that. So he found it very difficult to adjust, to acclimatize to the surroundings. Acclimatize is a homework for you. Try to find out what it means. The word is acclimatize. Okay. Fantastic indeed. Inferiority complex means the feeling of being a little down or feeling of being socially inadequate. That is the meaning of inferiority complex, not except for. The meaning is the feeling of being socially inadequate or lesser than somebody else. That's the meaning of inferiority complex. There's a grammar entry here. My spoken English was quite pathetic. So here you can say if quite pathetic is the underlined part, you'll have to make a question that quite pathetic becomes the answer. So you will say, how was my spoken English? That's your answer. How was my spoken English? Quite pathetic is the answer. And by pathetic is disastrous. The meaning of pathetic is disastrous. Guys, if you remember a few lectures ago, we did talk about the difference between Q-U-I-T-E and Q-U-I-E-T. The difference between quite and quiet. So I hope that you've seen that lecture. And this word is pronunciation. Very important. Let's deal with the next slide now. Guys, this won't be the last. We will do one or two slides more. Okay. Now, when I start reading it, the usual exercise should begin. Try to read it with me. One day, I was sitting at my mess table in the hostel, sipping tea, when a senior guy came and sat on a chair adjacent to me. He was a convent-educated guy with fairly sophisticated English, at least spoken or colloquial English. He was a bit arrogant and wanted to pull my leg. He tried to engage in some conversation with me and started pointing out errors in just about every sentence or everything that I said. After about 5 minutes, he walked away after insulting me. So guys, this is a situation that some of you might have encountered, or maybe you will encounter some stage if your English is not up to the mark and you are at a place where English is used more often. But don't be disheartened. That's why this lesson is important. Especially this is for the 12th standard, is it not, this lecture? So if you come from a vernacular background, from Marathi medium, Hindi medium, you definitely need to take this lesson as a role model, as a module of how to deal with such situations. So let's see what happens here. He was sitting at the mess table. That's where food is served, guys. And sophisticated is showing experience and knowledge. Very sophisticated, very high class. The boy was a bit arrogant. We have done this word colloquial a few lectures ago, which means local. Okay, the way things are used locally. So he had good spoken English, the English which was spoken locally. He was good at that. Yes, used in local ordinary conversation. Arrogant is having a huge sense of pride on self. So such people always are self-centered. They have a, they feel that they are somebody big and they're somebody excessively important, when the reality is not quite that. You should never be arrogant. It's a negative quality. And this boy who sat there beside Achyut Godbole wanted to pull his leg. That means wanted to make fun of him, point out errors. And that's exactly what he did. And after about 5 minutes of their conversation, he walked away after insulting Achyut Godbole. Okay, that's it. Let's continue. I felt extremely humiliated and upset. This could be a line for not only but also. I felt not only extremely humiliated but also upset. As it is, I was feeling quite depressed and diffident. The meaning of diffident is shy or modest due to lack of confidence. Good words here, guys. Good words. Today's lecture has offered us some very good words. Diffident, shy or modest due to lack of confidence. Guys, when you don't have the required confidence, often you shy away. When the professor asks questions, you don't want to answer. If you have a doubt, you want your friends to ask the doubt to the professor. This is the feeling of modesty, or the shyness that you have due to lack of confidence. And the word for that is diffident. And this incident was the last straw. That means that's it. Achyut Godbole decided that this is it. That's it. Enough is enough. So this was the last straw. I was almost broken. He could not take it anymore. I felt out of place. That means he thought that he did not belong there and literally wanted to run away. Second time he's saying that. So this thought came for the second time that I should go back to Solapur. I don't belong to Mumbai. These people will never accept me and I don't fit properly into this group. All those negative emotions. However, it was only my self-esteem which stopped me. And this is the most important quality. Self-esteem. Always be by your side first. Often when people criticize us, or our critics point out the errors, well, we tend to forget that at least we should be by our side. Be rational, think about it, and take it positively. You should have a very good sense of self-esteem. You should have that. Suddenly, a feeling of determination and strength came over me and gripped me. So he was completely full of determination, full of strength, full of courage. And now there will be a complete transformation. So this was like, if you can treat this is like the first part before the interval of a movie where the times are tough and the protagonist, that is the hero of the story, has got some problems. And now there will be, a determination, a sense of grit, a sense of courage, and there will be a complete twist in the tale. Despite hailing from Solapur, if I could be a rank holder in the school, college, and IIT with many awards in mathematics, there must be something right about me. Why should I give up? That's a very important quality. Guys, this is a very important quality. All the students, listen to this. Whenever you feel sad, well, remember there is something that you must have done in life. So similarly, Achyut Godbole was telling himself that I have awards in mathematics. I've always almost scored 100%. I cracked the IIT. I stood first at the university. Remember, we saw that in the last slide. So why should I give up? There must be something right with me. Okay, I cannot be 100% right, but there must be something right about me. And so he decided not to quit. So he decided not to quit. And that too for a silly and small thing like English. Now, as an English teacher, well, I would definitely second this. English is a language of communication. But just because you have bad English or maybe poor English doesn't mean you will never be successful in life. I am an English teacher and I'm telling you this. Yes, having good command over the English language, being fluent with it, being, having good vocabulary always helps, because English is a language that the world understands. Sure thing, 100%. But just because you are not good at English does not mean that you will not be you will never become successful in life. It's not like that. And also this is true that just because you have good communication skill, just because you can communicate good in English or well in English, you will be 100% successful. No, there are other qualities required. So he said, why should I go back to Solapur for a silly reason as this, just because I'm not good at English? Hey, what about the other things? There are, quite a few good qualities in me. I was not to give up anymore. He said, I will not give up. And I was determined to fight back. Now, this is a quality to be noted, students. I decided to fight back. I've always said this, when you choose not to fight, well, that is definitely defeat. But as long as you stand up and decide to put a fight, well, there is struggle. There is definitely fight. It's not over yet. That's what Achyut Godbole is doing here. Self-esteem, the confidence in one's own abilities with immense self-confidence, okay? What you think about yourself, self-esteem. Why should I give up is a nice grammar entry. The grammar entry for us is to make assertive. Why should I give up is interrogative. It's a question. Why should I give up? Well, the assertive of that is I should not give up. And such questions are important because the board thinks that there is a lesson for you to learn from them. So mark this as important. It's a very likely question at the board. Let's deal with this slide, and surely we will, we will treat this slide as the last. Okay, this is the last slide for today's lecture. We will continue after this in the next lecture. Let's deal with it. As I climbed the stairs of my hostel room, my plan was ready in my mind. Normally, most of us who are educated in vernacular languages such as Marathi think in Marathi before speaking in English, translate it in English, and then somehow try to speak out these translated English sentences in an extremely awkward fashion. Guys, this is absolutely true, and as an English teacher I can tell you that that's not the way to learn English. You should not first think in Marathi, then actually word for word go for some translation, and then construct your sentences. It will be a very awkward construction, as he also rightly says. Vernacular is done using one's own mother tongue. Here he says that he was educated in a Marathi medium school. And It's a very important thing. And now I will take you to the notepad just to clarify or expatiate on this point. So let's get to the notepad for the second time today. First, we had seen about these verb forms, and now let us talk about the awkward sentence construction. Never literally, okay, literally translate into English. That doesn't work. That does not work. For example, let's consider Hindi into English. ही अगर हिंदी में ऐसा वाक्य है, वो भागते भागते आया, वो भागते भागते आया. You will never ever say he came running. You will never ever say that, because you would probably have translated bhagte bhagte as running. Here there is one running too much. Okay. Here there is one running too much, which means that the line should be he came running. And look how easy it is to correct such errors. We'll talk more about them in probably the next class, or I might take a dedicated lecture for this. Look how easy this was to be corrected, is it not, to be rectified. He came running. There was a running was a literal translation of bhagte bhagte. So the way you do it in English is he came running. It's just as simple as that. Absolutely simple as that. Okay, we will someday actually have a lecture on this, a dedicated lecture on how not to make the literal translation. For the moment, guys, I think it is time for us. We were on this slide and we decided that this will be the last slide for today. Before I end this, I will like to share an image with you. We are talking about improvement in English. I recommend that you go ahead and watch this video on our channel, English Grammar with Ameya sir. I dealt with this topic, how can you improve your English. It's about 6 minutes and 10 seconds, or maybe precise 6 minutes and 8 seconds. And I have shared some tips about how you can improve your English. And I have no doubt that you will benefit from this short video only of 6 minutes. Do go ahead and watch this and let me know. Alright then, we will meet again soon the next time. Please take care and bye-bye.